Welcome to Pink Blade.
Here, we don't just watch stories, we step inside them.
Today we're diving deep into Bridgerton Season 3, Episode 3.
Forces of nature.
Okay, so let's unpack this right out of the gate. We are well past the pleasantries of the season opener.
Oh, yes.
We are now deep in the weeds of, I think, arguably the most chaotic, high-stakes courtship dynamic that Ton has ever seen.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
We've got hot air balloons, we have vegetarian suitors, and we have a psychological unraveling that is, I think, effectively changing the entire trajectory of the series.
Absolutely. But before we get to all that exhilarating chaos, and believe me, we will get to the balloon, we need to set the stage. What's the mission for this deep dive today?
Our mission today is to really dismantle the episode. We want to see the machinery underneath it all. So we're not just recapping the plot, we're doing, a forensic analysis. We've looked at a whole stack of sources, costume design manifestos from John Glazer, musical theory on the pop to classical covers, directorial notes from Andrew Ahn, and of course, the fierce, and I mean truly intellectual debates happening in the fan communities.
Right.
We want to understand how this specific episode uses the concept of nature to just break the rigid social contracts of Regency London.
I love that phrase, dismantling the social contract. It sounds so serious for a show that, also features a man obsessed with a flightless bird. But looking at the notes, you're absolutely right.
It is serious.
Usually the Ton is presented as this, glittering playground where everyone just wants to dance and find a husband.
Yeah.
But the showrunners seem to be framing it very differently here.
Very differently. In Forces of Nature, the Ton is not a playground. It's a pressurized chamber.
A pressurized chamber.
Think about it. You have this incredibly rigid social architecture. You've got the hierarchy of the debutantes, the unspoken rules of the marriage mart, the constant surveillance of the dowagers.
Everyone is watching everyone.
All the time. And for the first time, really, we are seeing that architecture start to crack under the sheer weight of human emotion. The characters aren't just navigating the rules anymore. They are being crushed by them.
It really does feel claustrophobic, and the character who is most actively trying to break out of that crushing weight, or I guess redefine her place within it, is Penelope Featherington.
Yes.
We have to talk about the visual overhaul here because it's radical. She is literally glowing.
It is a calculated rebranding. It's not an accident. Costume designer John Glazer was very, very specific in his intent here. For 2 full seasons, Penelope has been trapped in the citrus palette.
The yellows and oranges.
Exactly. Dictated by her mother, Portia. It was the uniform of a child, or maybe even worse, a piece of property. It was loud, it was garish, and honestly, it was meant to repel.
And in this episode, that is completely gone.
Vanished.
We're seeing emerald greens, dark blues. It's a much more sophisticated, almost darker look.
It is the Parisian aesthetic, as Glazer calls it. He notes that they deliberately moved away from the traditional Regency Empire waist, which, cuts right under the bust and often hides the figure.
Right.
Instead, they look to 1950s silhouettes to actually emphasize her waist and her curves. It's a mix of eras that creates something that feels timeless.
But there's a detail that really signals her psychological state.
Right.
In the fabric itself.
Yes, this is the best part. Glazer mentions that underneath those bold emerald greens, there are copper undertones woven directly into the fabric.
Which ties back to her hair.
It references her hair, yes, her Featherington roots.
Yeah.
But it also creates this shimmering, mutable effect. So depending on the light she changes, it separates her from the flat pastels of all the other debutantes. It signals that she is other.
And it's all part of a plan.
A very clear plan. She is trying to escape the role of the caretaker spinster and become an independent entity. She's looking for a husband, but you have to notice the shift in her motivation.
It's no longer about a fairy tale romance with Colin.
Not at all. It is about securing a practical match that allows her the freedom to continue her real work as Lady Whistledown.
She is basically treating marriage as a business transaction. It's a way to protect her secret career. She's looking for a merger, not a love story.
Precisely. She wants a partner who will, for all intents and purposes, leave her alone. Which brings us to the man who is usually the romantic lead, but currently seems to be struggling with his own performance. Mr. Colin Bridgerton.
Oh, Colin, the man, the myth, the pirate.
Pirate Colin is just fascinating in this episode because he is essentially a case study in performative masculinity. He came back from his travels with this whole persona.
The sturdy coat, the swagger, the wink.
The story's about gallivanting across Europe. But this episode is where we see that it's entirely a mask.
It's a defense mechanism, right? He's faking it till he makes it, but he's not making it.
Exactly. He is playing the role of the charming bachelor because he believes that is what society and his family demands of a Bridgerton man. He thinks he needs to be Anthony or Benedict, rakish and detached.
But he's not.
He's not. And the sources are really clear that episode 3 is where that mask just crumbles. He is in the middle of a complete psychological unraveling. He's trying to maintain this casual, worldly exterior, while internally he's in absolute turmoil.
Because he's realizing his feelings for Penelope go way beyond friendship.
And he has no idea what to do with that realization. It's breaking the character he's built for himself.
It seems like everyone is struggling with their assigned roles this episode. I mean, even Francesca Bridgerton, who the Queen has literally designated the sparkler, looks miserable.
He does?
She's the diamond of the season, but she looks like she would rather be anywhere else.
Francesca is the counter-argument to the Tun's forced extroversion. Her entire stake in this episode is just preserving her inner peace.
That's a great way to put it.
The Queen wants a spectacle. Francesca wants a quiet room and a pianoforte. The show is using her to explore the toll this social performance takes on an introvert. She isn't ungrateful. She's just completely overwhelmed.
And then you have Violet Bridgerton, the matriarch. She's usually the one enforcing the rules, keeping all the kids in line. But she seems distracted. Or maybe more observant.
I think it's both. Distracted or perhaps awakened? Violet is definitely balancing her maternal duties with this little spark of personal desire we see with Marcus Anderson, Lady Danbury's brother.
Yeah.
But more importantly, she acts as the audience surrogate in this episode. And there's a fascinating note here that the actress, Ruth Gemmell, specifically requested to be placed in the background of key scenes.
Just to watch.
Just to watch.
Yeah.
She is the intuitive observer. She sees the cracks forming before anyone else does. She watches Colin when he doesn't know he's being watched. She sees the way he looks at Penelope. She is the silent witness to the truth that they can't even admit to themselves.
Okay, so we have this massive tension building. It's the nature of the characters versus the humanity, or I guess the artificiality of their society.
And that is the title of the episode, Forces of Nature.
It's the core thesis.
It is. The whole narrative argues that human inventions, whether they are ballrooms, social etiquette, corsets, or literal hot air balloons, are all attempts to control our environment. We build structures to contain chaos.
But you can't.
But underneath all that control lies the innate animal impulse. Love, desire, jealousy, fear. The episode posits that no matter how much you try to engineer your life, nature is always the superior force.
Which brings us perfectly to the structural shift in the show, because for the first 2 episodes, we had this very neat, very rom-com setup of Colin giving Penelope charm lessons.
Right, the Pygmalion trope. Very neat.
It was very, she's all that. He was the teacher, she was the student.
And it was comfortable.
But here, in this episode, that dynamic is abruptly dead. The lessons are over.
It had to die. That teacher-student dynamic implies control. It implies that Colin is the master of the situation and Penelope is the novice. And that's no longer true.
So this is why episode 3 is the hook.
This is the turning point. It's the hook, because it discards that structure and introduces genuine chaos in the form of a real threat. Lord Debling.
Lord Debling, the man, the myth, the vegetarian.
We have to give the writers so much credit here. In so many romance arcs, the rival suitor is, he's a villain or a bore or secretly evil.
A cartoon character.
Exactly. Debling is none of those things. He is a viable, logical alternative. He's wealthy, he's titled, and he offers Penelope exactly what she thinks she wants.
Which is a marriage of convenience.
A marriage where the husband travels for years at a time is perfect for her.
He's basically offering her the Lady Whistledown protection program.
Precisely. And that shifts the dramatic tension immediately. The question is no longer, will Colin notice her?
We're past that. We know he notices her.
We know he does. The question becomes, will Colin lose her? And that panic is the force of nature that's driving this whole plot. Colin cannot fight his jealousy any more than a balloon can fight a gale force wind.
It creates this ticking clock. Before, Colin had all the time in the world to figure things out. Now, Debling is right there, talking about birds and offering her a house.
And Debling is unbothered by the social rules, which makes him even more dangerous to Colin's worldview. Colin is trying to play the game. Debling is just opting out of the game entirely. He doesn't care.
Okay, let's deep dive into the scenes, because there are 3 specific moments in this episode that I think define not just the episode, but the whole season. And we have to start at the very beginning, the dream sequence.
This scene is a masterclass in subverting genre expectations. The director, Andrew Ahn, made very specific choices here, typically in the Regency romance genre, and, Bridgerton is very aware of its own tropes.
Oh, very.
The dream sequence belongs to the female protagonist. It's usually the woman pining for the man, imagining him in some heroic romantic light.
But here, the script is completely flipped.
Completely. Colin is the romance novel heroine of his own subconscious. He's the one dreaming. He's the one pining.
And the look of it is so distinct. The lighting isn't the bright, flat lighting of a ballroom.
No, it's incredibly atmospheric. You have torchlight, you have these blooming flowers, and you have this thick, thick fog. And that fog is crucial. It symbolizes isolation. In the dream, they are protected from the gaze of the ton.
It's a safe space.
It's a void. It's just the two of them.
Yeah.
There are no mothers, no whistle down, no debbling. It's pure emotion.
And Colin's appearance? He's so vulnerable.
The open shirt, the lack of a cravat, it is the classic romance cover model look. But what's even more important is to look at Penelope in the dream. Her hair is loose.
Which is a huge deal in 1815.
A massive deal. In this era, seeing a woman with her hair down is an incredibly intimate private sight. Usually only a husband or maybe a lady's maid would ever see that.
So for him to dream of her that way...
It signifies that his subconscious has stripped away the social version of her, the debutante in the updos and the ball gowns, and he's seeing the real woman underneath.
And he finally admits his feelings in the dream. He says, "You occupy my every thought."
It is a subconscious repair attempt. That's what's happening. He is reliving the kiss from the previous episode, but he's rewriting it to include the honesty that he cannot express in his waking life.
So in reality, he made that terrible joke about not courting her.
Yes, but in the dream, he confesses. He fixes his mistake.
And then he wakes up.
And he's a complete mess. He's sweaty, he's panting, he's physically shaken by it.
That wake up is the moment, isn't it? That is when Platonic Colin dies.
Exactly. That physical reaction marks the death of Platonic Colin. You cannot go back to being just friends after your own subconscious has betrayed you that thoroughly. He tries to shake it off, of course. He goes downstairs and aggressively drinks tea.
Right. The very English response to a crisis.
But the damage is done. The seed is planted and it's already sprouting.
And this internal panic then manifests externally in the second key scene, the balloon incident.
This is the big action set piece of the season. Every season of Bridgerton has one. The duel, the horse race. Here, it's a hot air balloon presentation by the very eccentric Lord Hawkins that goes terribly wrong.
But it's also it's a very heavy-handed but very effective metaphor.
It's incredibly effective. You have Lord Hawkins, this man of science, trying to conquer the wind with his invention. And nature, the wind, just says no.
The wind picks up, the rope snaps, the whole balloon tips over. It's chaos.
No.
But I want to look at the reaction times of the men involved, because it tells us everything about who they are.
It is a perfect study in instinct. When the balloon breaks loose, watch Lord Debbling. He is standing right next to Penelope.
Right there.
And his instinct is self-preservation. He covers his head. He moves away from the danger.
He ducks.
He ducks. Now, to be fair, he might be protecting his research notes, or it might just be the most logical reaction to a giant falling object. It's not malicious. It is logical. Debbling is a man of logic. But Colin doesn't think. He completely abandons logic. He sees Penelope is in the path of the falling basket, and he runs toward the danger. He throws his body into the fray. He grabs the rope.
There's a note here from the director, Andrew Ahn, about the specific direction he gave Luke Newton for this scene. He told him to channel a particular actor. Do you know who it was?
I believe it was Hugh Grant.
Yes, Hugh Grant energy.
Which is such a brilliant, brilliant note. He didn't want Marvel superhero energy. He didn't want Captain America effortlessly catching the balloon.
Right, no stoic heroics.
He wanted romantic hero energy. It needed to be frantic and slightly clumsy and desperate. You see him pulling on that rope, and it is a display of pure physical masculinity. The veins are popping, the muscles are straining, but his face is just pure fear. He isn't trying to look cool. He's just trying to save her.
And the real tragedy of the scene is the aftermath. He saves the day. He plays the hero.
And Penelope immediately turns her attention to Lord Debbling to see if he is okay.
Ouch. That has to sting.
It is a crushing, crushing blow to Colin's ego and his heart. He performs this incredible feat of strength. He fulfills the ultimate role of the protector, but he loses the moment. She doesn't run into his arms. She checks on the practical match.
It just reinforces his deepest fear that he's already losing her.
Absolutely. Which leads us directly to the climax of the episode. the Innovations Ball.
This is where everything just comes to a head. The setting is fascinating, too. It's Grimsthorpe Castle.
A very intentional choice. The location scouts chose it specifically because it looks eccentric and strange. It doesn't look like a traditional symmetrical Regency house. It has towers and weird angles, which fits the whole theme of invention and new ideas.
So the real story's on the dance floor.
Always.
And the music. We have to talk about the music. We have a string quartet cover of Snow on the Beach by Taylor Swift and Lana Del Rey.
A collaboration for the ages. And the song choice is perfect. The song itself is about something falling into place that feels impossible. Weird, but thing beautiful, as the lyrics say. It captures that feeling of surreality and disbelief.
But the string arrangement here, it feels tense.
It emphasizes the angst. The strings are almost mournful. They're not celebratory. They're full of conflict.
And into that conflict walks Colin, who cuts in on Debling and Penelope's dance. That is a massive breach of etiquette, isn't it?
It is a public declaration of instability. In the ton, you simply do not interrupt a dance unless there is, a medical emergency or a fire.
For Colin, it is an emergency.
It is. He's unraveling. He walks right onto the floor, ignoring everyone, ignoring all decorum.
He asks her if she is happy.
A brutally loaded question in that moment.
And she lies. She says she is.
And then we get the stare.
And the stare, time just stops.
The choreography stops. They're just standing there breathing in the middle of the dance floor. Andrew Ahn, the director, blocked this scene specifically to show Penelope caught between two worlds. The safe, practical, logical world represented by Debling, and the chaotic, magnetic, undeniable pull of Colin. The world just falls away.
And Violet is watching.
Always. Violet is in the background, just as Ruth Gemmell requested. She sees the truth that Colin is too terrified to speak, and Penelope is too scared to acknowledge. She sees that this isn't just friendship anymore, it's desperation.
It is such a painful scene because you just want him to say it, just say, I love you, or don't do this. But he can't.
Not yet. He's paralyzed.
He's paralyzed by the fear that he's already too late, and she's too scared to hope that he might mean it.
It's the perfect storm of miscommunication and deep, deep longing.
I want to pivot back to the technical side for a moment, specifically the costumes, because we touched on Penelope's dress, but the men's clothing tells a story too.
Oh, absolutely. John Glazer's work on Colin this season is subtle but so effective. He calls it the rugged look. If you notice, throughout this entire episode, Colin is wearing darker blues, browns, even leathers.
Yeah, and his collars are open.
The collars are open, the cravats are missing, or they're tied loosely. He is meant to look like he has lived a little. He looks sweaty, traveled, masculine.
It contrasts so sharply with the baby blue Bridgerton look from the past seasons.
It does. It makes him look out of place in the very stiff, proper society of the ton. He visually doesn't fit in anymore, which is a perfect mirror for his internal state. He's too big, too loud, too emotional for these pastel drawing rooms.
And then we have the perfect counter example, Cressida Cowper. We have to talk about those sleeves.
The sleeves are enormous.
They take up the whole screen. I'm not exaggerating.
Glazer calls it armor. Her palette is this very specific pink, which usually signifies sweetness or romance, but for Cressida, it is absolutely weaponized. She uses fashion to create physical distance. You literally cannot get close to her because her sleeves are in the way.
It's actually quite sad when you see her home life in this episode. We get that brief scene with her parents.
It is. Her home is cold and demanding and borderline abusive. Her father is just cruel, and that fashion becomes her shield. She's protecting herself from the world because her home is not a safe place. It recontextualizes all of her mean girl behavior.
It's not just cruelty for cruelty's sake.
No, she's fighting for her own survival in a very hostile environment.
Let's look at the music supervision again. We mentioned Snow on the Beach, but there was another track that I think does a lot of the heavy lifting. Happier Than Ever by Billie Eilish.
This is the ultimate breakup anthem. And it plays during the dance between Penelope and Debling earlier in the episode. And you have to think about the lyrics, even though we don't hear them.
When I'm away from you, I'm happier than ever.
It feels like that is exactly what Penelope is trying to convince herself of.
Right. It's her internal monologue.
It is. She is dancing with Debling, the safe choice, and the music represents her trying to tell herself, I don't need Colin. I am better off without all this drama. I am happier this way. I am safe.
But the song itself, we all know how that song goes. It starts very calm and acoustic, and then it just explodes into rage and electric guitar and distortion.
Which suggests that her piece is incredibly fragile. The anger and the hurt are bubbling just beneath that placid surface. She can tell herself she's happy, but the music is telling us she is suppressing a scream.
I want to bring in the human element now, the actors themselves. Luke Newton talked about how this episode felt very internal for him.
He did. The challenge for him as an actor was playing a character who is usually so charming and witty, he's the guy with a quick comeback, but who is suddenly losing all of his verbal faculties.
He can't speak properly around her.
He can't. And he talked about leaning into that awkwardness, the stuttering, the staring, the dry mouth. It's not the smooth romantic lead. It is the clumsy, awkward reality of falling in love when you're terrified. He had to be brave enough to look foolish.
And Nicola Coughlan mentioned working with intimacy coordinators, but not just for sex scenes.
This is a growing trend in the industry, and it's a very positive one. They use coordinators for the tension, for the way he looks at her, the way his hand brushes hers, the way he breathes when he's near her.
To choreograph the yearning.
That's the perfect way to put it. Because the actors are such good friends in real life, they needed to ensure that this shift into eroticism felt grounded and safe for them, but also completely distinct from their real-world friendship. They had to build that longing from the ground up.
Now, we have to talk about the fans, because the internet had some very, very strong opinions about this episode.
The internet always does.
Let's start with the Regency hipster.
Lord Debling, played so well by Sam Phillips.
Fans seemed to genuinely love him, didn't they?
They did. He's a vegetarian, which was incredibly rare for the time. He doesn't gossip. He's obsessed with nature and conservation. He is essentially a modern Brooklyn hipster who has been dropped into 1815.
And there was a genuine debate in the fandom. A lot of people argued he was actually the better match for Penelope.
It's the classic peace versus passion debate. Debling offers a life of low drama, high independence, and fascinating ecological research. Colin offers high drama, emotional volatility, and an intense, all-consuming romance.
And for a modern audience, Debling's offer is actually quite compelling.
Very compelling. Many fans said, you know what? I take the house and the birds, thanks. Keep the drama.
Speaking of the birds, specifically the great auk, that is a symbol we absolutely need to unpack.
It is the tragic layer of the entire episode. Debling is obsessed with studying and saving the great auk. He talks about it with such passion and hope. But we, the modern audience, know something he doesn't.
It goes extinct.
It goes extinct less than 30 years after this season is set. It's gone forever. He is fighting a noble but ultimately losing battle against nature.
And that parallels Penelope's situation.
Perfectly. Penelope is trying to save her friendship with Colin. She's trying to preserve the status quo, keep things nice and tidy and safe. But that dynamic, their friendship as it was, that is the great auk.
It's doomed.
It is doomed. It cannot survive in its current form. It has to evolve into romance, or it will die out completely. There's no going back.
That is bleak, but really brilliant.
It's the instinct versus invention theme playing out again. You cannot invent a way to save a species that nature has decided is finished. And you cannot invent a way to be just friends with someone you are desperately in love with.
Fans also had a lot to say about the other quiet romance budding in this episode, Francesca and John Sterling.
The silence.
The silence. They meet and they just stand there outside the ball. There's no witty banter, no flirting. They just exist together.
And fans hailed it as one of the most romantic moments of the entire season. It was this beautiful validation of the idea of introverted love.
It's a different kind of connection.
It is. In a show that is usually about grand declarations and fireworks and duels, seeing two people connect through a shared, comfortable quiet was incredibly powerful. It showed that you don't have to change who you are to find love. You can just be quiet together.
Okay, so pulling all these threads together, the balloons, the birds, the awkward dances, the green dresses, what is the ultimate thematic question this episode leaves us with? What's the takeaway from Forces of Nature?
I think the episode is, at its core, a warning. It's a warning that logic has its limits. Penelope tries to use her brilliant mind to solve the problem of her life. She calculates that Debling is the logical solution. Colin tries to use his mind to maintain his charming pirate performance.
But both fail. The wind blows the balloon off course. The heart blows the plan off course.
Exactly. The final takeaway is that you cannot govern the heart with a spreadsheet. You cannot engineer safety when the force of nature you're dealing with is love. And that's terrifying, because it means we aren't really in control.
But it's also hopeful, isn't it? Because the control is making them both miserable.
That is the beautiful paradox of it all. The loss of control is the only thing that can actually save them. They have to crash the balloon to find out who they really are, when they're not performing.
Stop fighting the wind.
Stop fighting the wind.
Thanks for listening to Pink Blade.
If this episode revealed something new, you can follow to explore the next chapter.
And if a moment stayed with you, share it in the comments.
Until next time.
This is Pink Blade.